Aisha never expected that the most popular girl in school would choose her as a friend. The new girl, beautiful, confident, and always surrounded by attention, suddenly started sitting beside Aisha in class. At first, it felt like a dream. She defended Aisha when others teased her, shared her lunch, and smiled in a way that made everyone jealous. Teachers praised their sweet friendship, and classmates whispered that Aisha was lucky. But something about her new girlfriend felt wrong. Her smile sometimes lasted a second too long. Her eyes didn't always match her expressions. When others laughed, she stared, unblinking. Aisha began to notice how cold her hands felt, even on warm afternoons. And whenever someone tried to get close to Aisha, the girl would gently wrap her arm around her and say, "She's mine," in a playful tone that didn't feel playful at all. One afternoon, Aisha mentioned spending time with another classmate. The girl's face changed, just for a moment. Her lips kept smiling, but her eyes darkened, almost empty. "You don't need anyone else," she whispered softly. That night, Aisha received dozens of messages from her. Sweet at first, then demanding, then strangely possessive. When Aisha didn't reply for 10 minutes, the messages turned cold. "Why are you ignoring me? Who are you with? You promised you were mine." Aisha tried to laugh it off. Maybe she was just insecure. Maybe she just cared too much. But as she lay in bed, her phone buzzed one last time at exactly 11:59 p.m. "I'm closer than you think." At school, their friendship looked perfect. The mean girlfriend held Aisha's hand in the hallway, laughed loudly at her jokes, and glared at anyone who stared too long. Everyone believed she was protective, maybe even sweet. But when they were alone, her tone changed. It started with small comments. "That dress doesn't suit you. You talk too much when you're nervous. Without me, no one would even notice you." She said these things with a smile, brushing Aisha's hair back gently, as if correcting her, shaping her. Aisha tried to ignore the sting in her words. Maybe she was helping. Maybe she wanted her to improve. But the control slowly tightened. If Aisha spoke to another friend for too long, the girl would appear beside her silently. Her grip on Aisha's wrist would tighten just slightly, enough to hurt, not enough to leave marks. Later, she would whisper, "I don't like sharing." One afternoon, Aisha decided to test something. She spent the entire lunch break sitting with other classmates. She laughed, talked, and tried to act normal. But across the cafeteria, she could feel eyes on her. When she finally looked up, her girlfriend was standing completely still, staring, not blinking, not moving, just watching. That evening, Aisha's social media account started posting strange messages. Messages she never wrote. "Best friends forever. She belongs to me. No one takes what's mine." Her password had been changed. When she confronted her the next day, the girl simply tilted her head and smiled. "You shouldn't try to leave me," she said softly. "Bad things happen when you do." And for the first time, Aisha realized this wasn't normal jealousy. This was something darker. The first time Aisha noticed the change in her girlfriend's eyes, she thought it was just the lighting. They were sitting in an empty classroom after school, golden sunlight spilling through the dusty windows. Her girlfriend was smiling, talking about how much she trusted Aisha, how special their bond was. But when Aisha casually mentioned spending the weekend with her cousin, the smile froze. For a split second, her eyes lost all warmth. They didn't look angry. They looked empty. Aisha blinked, and the expression was gone. The girl laughed softly, brushing it off. "I just don't like being replaced," she whispered, her voice strangely calm. After that day, Aisha began noticing small, disturbing details. Her girlfriend rarely blinked during conversations. Sometimes she would stare without moving for an uncomfortable amount of time. And whenever someone else complimented Aisha, that strange glow would flicker in her eyes again. Faint, cold, almost metallic. One afternoon during class, Aisha dropped her pen and bent down to pick it up. When she looked up, her girlfriend was staring at another girl across the room. Her eyes weren't just glowing. They looked darker, deeper, as if something inside them was moving. The other girl suddenly flinched, clutching her head like she felt a sudden sharp pain. Aisha's heart began pounding. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that empty stare. Around midnight, she felt the sensation of being watched. Slowly, she turned her head toward her bedroom door. It was slightly open, and in the darkness beyond it, she could see two faint reflections, like eyes catching the light. Unblinking, The rumors began quietly. At first, it was just whispers in the hallway, soft voices that stopped whenever Aisha walked past. Two girls from her class had suddenly stopped talking to her. One of them had tripped down the stairs the day after arguing with Aisha's girlfriend. Another claimed she felt someone pushing her from behind, but when she turned around, no one was there. It's a coincidence, Aisha told herself. But the pattern continued. Anyone who criticized her girlfriend, anyone who questioned her strange behavior, seemed to suffer small but terrifying incidents. Lockers slammed shut without warning. Lights flickered violently during arguments. One boy who mocked her laugh was later found locked inside the school storage room, screaming that someone had been whispering his name in the dark. The strange part? Each incident happened shortly after her girlfriend had been staring at the person, silent, smiling, unblinking. One afternoon, Aisha overheard two classmates talking in the bathroom. "There's something wrong with her," one whispered. "My cousin said she transferred from another school after a girl there disappeared," the other replied. Aisha's stomach tightened. When she confronted her girlfriend about the rumors, the girl didn't look angry. She looked amused. "People like to blame others for their bad luck," she said calmly. "You don't believe them, do you?" Her fingers slowly traced patterns on Aisha's wrist, cold as ice. That evening, as Aisha walked home alone, the streetlights flickered above her. The air felt heavier than usual. Her phone buzzed with a new message. "They shouldn't talk about me." Aisha froze. She hadn't told anyone about the bathroom conversation. Slowly, another message appeared. "You didn't tell them, right?" That night, Aisha couldn't focus on anything. The rumors, the accidents, the strange stares, everything kept replaying in her mind. She tried to convince herself she was overthinking. Maybe her girlfriend was just misunderstood. Maybe the school gossip had twisted everything. At exactly 11:59 p.m., her phone vibrated. "Unknown number. Look outside your window." Her heart skipped. She stared at the message, frozen. Another notification appeared. "I'm waiting." Slowly, with trembling hands, Aisha got out of bed and walked toward the window. The curtains were slightly open. The street outside was quiet, dimly lit by a single flickering street lamp. She hesitated, then pulled the curtain aside. Standing directly below her window was her girlfriend. Still, smiling. Her head was tilted slightly to one side, as if she had been standing there for a long time. She didn't wave. She didn't blink. Aisha's breath caught in her throat. Her girlfriend lived at least 30 minutes away. There was no way she could be here at this hour without anyone noticing. Her phone buzzed again. "Why didn't you reply earlier?" Aisha slowly looked back down at the street. The girl was still there, but now her smile was wider. Too wide. Almost unnatural. Suddenly, the street lamp above her flickered and went out. The darkness swallowed her figure. Aisha gasped and stepped back from the window. When she gathered the courage to look again, the street was empty. No footsteps. No sound. Nothing. Her phone vibrated one last time. "Don't ignore me again." And then, from somewhere inside the house, she heard a soft knock. The next morning, everything felt unreal. Aisha barely slept after hearing that soft knock from inside the house. She had locked her bedroom door and stayed awake until sunrise, staring at the handle, waiting for it to move. But nothing else happened. At school, her girlfriend walked toward her like nothing had happened. She smiled brightly. "You look tired," she said sweetly. "Didn't sleep well?" Aisha's throat felt dry. "Why were you outside my house last night?" she whispered. Her girlfriend frowned slightly. "What are you talking about?" "I was home. My parents don't even let me go out at night." The denial sounded natural. Calm. Convincing. But then she leaned closer. "You must have dreamed it," she added softly. During class, Aisha kept glancing at her. She was laughing with others, writing notes, acting completely normal. No strange smiles. No empty stares. Maybe it really was a nightmare. When lunch break came, Aisha gathered the courage to check something. Casually, she asked, "What were you doing at 11:59 p.m. yesterday?" Her girlfriend paused. For a second, just 1 second, her expression froze. Her pen stopped moving midair. Then she slowly smiled. "Thinking about you." A chill ran down Aisha's spine. Later that afternoon, Aisha checked her phone again. The unknown number from last night was gone. The messages had disappeared completely. Deleted. As if they were never sent. Her hands began to shake. If it wasn't real, then how did she still remember the exact time? And why, when she opened her school locker, Did she find a small note inside written in familiar handwriting? You should trust me more. After finding the note in her locker, Aisha felt like the walls were slowly closing in on her. She didn't tell anyone. Who would believe her? The messages were gone. There was no proof. And her girlfriend continued acting perfectly normal, almost too normal. That afternoon, something even stranger happened. During chemistry class, the teacher asked Aisha to answer a question. As she stood up, she felt her girlfriend's eyes on her again. Not just watching, focusing. The air felt heavier. Suddenly, the lights flickered once, then twice. The entire class went silent. A sharp cracking sound echoed through the room as a glass beaker on a shelf shattered without anyone touching it. Students screamed. The teacher rushed to calm everyone down, blaming it on temperature pressure. But Aisha hadn't looked away. Her girlfriend was still sitting calmly in her chair, smiling, not surprised, not startled, just watching Aisha. Later, in the hallway, Aisha confronted her again. Did you see what happened in class? Her girlfriend stepped closer, brushing invisible dust from Aisha's shoulder. Accidents happen, she whispered. You worry too much. But you were staring at me. I'm always staring at you, she replied softly. You're mine. That night, Aisha tried to ignore everything. She locked her door again. She turned off her phone. She even covered her mirror with a cloth. But around midnight, she woke up suddenly. Not because of a sound, because of silence. The kind of silence that feels wrong. Slowly, she turned her head toward the mirror. The cloth had fallen to the floor, and in the reflection, she wasn't alone. Aisha's heart nearly stopped. In the mirror's reflection, she could clearly see herself sitting upright in bed, pale, frozen, terrified. And behind her, her girlfriend was standing in the corner of the room. But when Aisha quickly turned around, the corner was empty. Her breathing became shallow. Slowly, trembling, she looked back at the mirror. She was still there, standing unnaturally still, head slightly tilted, smiling. But something was wrong. Her reflection girlfriend wasn't facing the same direction as the room. Her body was angled slightly sideways, as if she didn't belong to this world, but to the glass itself. Aisha squeezed her eyes shut and opened them again. Still there. Then, the reflection moved. Not her real body, only the reflection. The girl inside the mirror slowly lifted one finger to her lips. Shoo! Aisha gasped and spun around again. Nothing. The room was silent. But when she turned back to the mirror a third time, her reflection was normal again. Alone. Her girlfriend was gone. The next morning, Aisha rushed to school, shaken and exhausted. She avoided eye contact, avoided mirrors, avoided everyone. But when she opened her notebook in class, something slipped out. A small photograph. It was a picture of her bedroom window, taken from outside. The timestamp printed on the corner read, 11:59 p.m., and standing in the reflection of the glass was Aisha, looking down, smiling, the same unnatural smile. Her hands began to tremble, because she didn't remember ever standing at the window. After the photograph incident, Aisha stopped trusting her own memories. She couldn't remember standing at the window. She couldn't remember smiling like that. Yet the proof was in her hands. The timestamp, the angle, the reflection. It was real. That night, the nightmares began. She dreamed she was standing in a dark, endless hallway lined with mirrors on both sides. In every reflection, she saw herself, but slightly different. Some versions of her were crying. Some were expressionless. And in a few of them, her eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. Then she heard a whisper, soft, close, breathing against her ear. You belong to me. She tried to run, but the hallway stretched infinitely. Every mirror she passed began to crack, one by one. From inside the broken glass, pale hands started pressing outward, as if something was trapped behind each reflection. Suddenly, her girlfriend appeared at the end of the hallway. Not walking, floating slightly above the ground. Her smile was wide, but her eyes were hollow. You promised, she said in two overlapping voices. Aisha tried to scream, but no sound came out. The mirrors shattered all at once. Aisha woke up gasping for air at exactly 3 a.m. Her room was dark and silent. But she wasn't alone. She could feel it. A cold breath brushed against her neck. Slowly, she reached up to touch her ear. Her fingers came away wet. Not sweat. Ink. Confused, she ran to the mirror. Written across her neck in dark, shaky handwriting were the words, "Forever." And it wasn't her handwriting. It was hers. The word forever stayed on Aisha's neck all day. No matter how hard she scrubbed, the ink wouldn't fade. It didn't look freshly written anymore. It looked older, almost like it had been carved into her skin and healed over. She covered it with her hair before going to school, afraid someone might notice. In the library that afternoon, she finally decided to search for answers. She typed her girlfriend's full name into the old-school archive database. Nothing unusual appeared at first, just transfer records from different schools over the years. Too many schools. Too many sudden transfers. Then she found an older newspaper article stored in the digital archives. The headline made her hands tremble. Teenage girl dies in jealousy-fueled incident. Best friend missing. The article described a girl who became obsessively possessive over her best friend. When the friend tried to distance herself, something terrible happened. The case remained unsolved. The disturbing part wasn't the story. It was the photo. The girl in the photograph looked exactly like Aisha's girlfriend. Same eyes, same smile, same tilted head. The article was dated 15 years ago. That was impossible. Aisha's breathing became shallow. She scrolled further down and noticed something even worse. The missing best friend's name was the same as one of her girlfriend's former classmates from another school. The one who had moved away suddenly. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the table. Aisha slowly looked up. Her girlfriend was standing there, smiling gently. "Researching me?" she asked softly. The computer screen flickered. When Aisha looked back at the article, the photograph had changed. Now it was her own face staring back at her. Aisha's blood ran cold when she saw her own face in the newspaper photograph. The headline was still the same. The date was still 15 years old. But now, under the title, the image showed her, smiling faintly, eyes darker than they should be. She slowly turned her head toward her girlfriend, who was still standing beside the table. "You shouldn't dig into the past," her girlfriend said calmly. "It confuses things." "What are you?" Aisha whispered, her voice shaking. Her girlfriend tilted her head slightly, the familiar unsettling gesture. "I'm just someone who hates being abandoned." The library lights flickered again. For a brief second, Aisha noticed something horrifying. Her girlfriend's reflection in the nearby glass cabinet wasn't matching her movements. The reflection was standing closer to Aisha than her real body was. "You think I'm the only one who changed?" her girlfriend continued softly. "You don't even remember how we met, do you?" A sharp pain shot through Aisha's head. Memories flashed, distorted, broken pieces. A different school hallway. Another girl crying. A hand pushing someone. A scream. Aisha staggered backward. "What did you do to me?" she demanded. Her girlfriend's smile slowly faded. "I didn't do anything," she whispered. "You invited me." The words echoed strangely, as if two voices were speaking at once. Suddenly, Aisha felt a wave of dizziness. The library shelves seemed to stretch taller. The shadows deepened unnaturally. When she blinked, her girlfriend was gone. In her place, on the table, lay a small hand mirror. And written across its surface in foggy letters were the words, "We're the same." Aisha stared at the small hand mirror lying on the library table. Her reflection looked pale and shaken, but normal. Slowly, she picked it up. For a moment, nothing seemed unusual. Then her reflection blinked. She hadn't. Aisha froze. In the mirror, her reflected self slowly smiled, wider than she was smiling in reality. "We're the same," the reflection whispered. The voice wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside her head. Suddenly, memories began flooding back, not like flashes this time, but clear and sharp. She remembered transferring schools before. She remembered feeling jealous. She remembered being terrified of losing someone important. And she remembered standing in a dark room years ago, promising she would never be alone again. The pain in her head intensified. "No," she muttered. "That's not me." But the reflection tilted its head, exactly like her girlfriend always did. "You were lonely," it said gently. "You called me." The library around her seemed to blur. The shelves faded into darkness. The mirror grew colder in her hands. "You didn't want to be weak anymore," the voice continued. "So you let me in." Aisha felt her knees weaken. "What are you?" she whispered. "I'm the part of you that refuses to be abandoned." Suddenly, the mirror slipped from her hands and shattered on the floor. The noise echoed loudly through the empty library. Students rushed in, asking what happened. When Aisha looked around, everything was normal again. No shadows, no strange whispers. But when she bent down to look at one of the broken mirror pieces, she saw her girlfriend's face staring back at her, smiling, from inside her own reflection. That night, Aisha knew it would end, or begin. She locked her bedroom door, closed the curtains, and turned off every light. The house felt unnaturally quiet, like it was holding its breath. She sat on her bed, staring at her reflection in the dark window glass. "I'm not you," she whispered. The room temperature dropped. Slowly, without any sound of the door opening, her girlfriend appeared in the corner of the room, just like before. Still, calm, watching. "You're tired of fighting me," she said softly. Aisha stood up, forcing herself not to look away. "You're not real." Her girlfriend smiled faintly. "If I'm not real, why do I know every thought you're afraid to admit?" The walls seemed to pulse slightly, as if the room itself was breathing. "You were scared of being invisible," her girlfriend continued. "Scared of being replaced. So you created me." "I didn't create you," Aisha shouted. But even as she said it, memories returned. The jealousy, the loneliness, the desperate wish to never be alone again. Her girlfriend stepped closer. This time, her feet didn't touch the floor. "I only wanted one thing," she whispered. "Loyalty." Her voice overlapped, two tones speaking at once. "And anyone who tries to leave us," she continued, her eyes darkening, "doesn't deserve to stay." Aisha felt tears in her eyes. "You hurt people." "We hurt people," the girl corrected gently. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently. The mirror across the room cracked down the center. "Accept me," her girlfriend said, extending her hand. "Or disappear." The room felt like it was splitting in two, and Aisha had to choose. The cracked mirror trembled against the wall as Aisha stared at the outstretched hand in front of her. Her girlfriend hovered inches above the floor, eyes darker than ever, waiting. "Accept me," she repeated softly. "Or disappear." Aisha's heart pounded so loudly she could barely think. Every memory, the jealousy, the loneliness, the fear of being forgotten, rushed through her mind like a storm. For years, she had been afraid of being invisible. And now, the part of her that refused to be invisible was standing right in front of her. "I won't let you control me," Aisha whispered. Her girlfriend's expression didn't change. "Control? I protected you. You hurt people. We only hurt those who try to take what was ours." The room darkened further. The walls seemed to stretch, shadows crawling like living things across the ceiling. Aisha took a shaky step forward instead of back. "If you're part of me," she said slowly, "then I don't need to destroy you." For the first time, her girlfriend's smile faltered. "I can face my fear without becoming a monster." The word monster echoed strangely in the air. Aisha reached toward the cracked mirror instead of the offered hand. "I don't belong to you," she said firmly. "And you don't belong outside me." With sudden force, she pushed the mirror off the wall. It shattered against the floor in a violent explosion of glass. A piercing scream filled the room, layered, distorted, furious. The shadows recoiled. When the sound faded, the room was silent again. Her girlfriend was gone. Only shattered glass remained. But in one sharp piece near her foot, her own reflection was smiling. Morning arrived quietly. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, warm and ordinary, as if nothing had happened. The broken mirror pieces were gone. The walls were smooth. The air felt normal. Aisha sat on the edge of her bed, breathing slowly. It was over. Or at least, it felt over. She walked to the bathroom and looked into the mirror above the sink. Her reflection stared back at her, calm, steady, unchanged. No strange smiles. No glowing eyes. Just her. At school, everything seemed peaceful. No flickering lights. No whispers. No strange stares. Her classmates talked and laughed as usual. And then she saw her. A new girl standing near the lockers. Shy. Quiet. Alone. Their eyes met for a brief second. The girl quickly looked away. Something stirred inside Aisha's chest, a familiar feeling. Loneliness. Insecurity. The fear of being forgotten. Aisha felt a small smile forming on her lips. She walked toward the girl slowly. "Hi," she said gently. "You look like you could use a friend." The new girl hesitated, then nodded. As they began talking, a strange warmth spread through Aisha's body. A comforting, powerful warmth. In the reflection of the nearby locker door, her smile looked slightly wider than it should have been. And for just a second, her eyes darkened. Deep inside her mind, a soft whisper echoed. forever. But this time, the voice wasn't separate. It was hers. I